Nvidia is expected to report earnings on Wednesday, and the market is hoping that Jensen and Nvidia pretty much save the AI market. Now, in today's episode, what I want to do is share my overall thoughts in the current AI ecosystem drawdown that we are seeing, and also we're going to look at what the market is expecting for earnings this Wednesday. So let's take a closer look in today's episode.
I want to thank The Motley Fool for sponsoring this video, and check out fool.com/Jose for the 10 best stocks to buy now. With that link, you get a promotional offer for the subscription service. Now, let's continue with today's episode.
All right. So, like I mentioned, NVIDIA is reporting earnings this Wednesday, and this has become kind of like the Super Bowl of AI. I do believe recently, though, NVIDIA has been pretty, we get a lot of what's expected ahead of time. As we're going to see, we already have a lot of announcements that, in my opinion, I don't know if NVIDIA can actually save the market. Now, does this mean I'm bearish in AI stocks? I'm extremely bullish. And as we're going to see, nothing has changed for AI companies, especially the AI companies that I own, where the bullish thesis and the bullish long-term opportunity is still there. The biggest thing that has changed, in my opinion, has been just the stock price itself. And obviously with the stock price, you can go with the trend, the market sentiment and all that, and that can continue, right? You can continue to see that negative sentiment. But for me as a long-term investor, if I was one that just flips with the stock price, NVIDIA would not be the multi-bagger it is in my portfolio, right? So for me, I have had the experience where usually my gut feeling is right. It's not always right, but sometimes it's right. And I believe the AI market is still very much in early innings. So when I say I don't believe NVIDIA can save the market, I don't mean that the market needs to be safe. It's more the market sentiment. Already, NVIDIA has announced a lot of great updates in just the past few weeks. We're going to look at them. And unless NVIDIA gives us some crazy news in this upcoming earnings, which I personally am not expecting, but I would gladly welcome, unless they give us some crazy guidance that not even the most bullish investors, and some bullish investors and analysts out there have some crazy numbers. Unless they give us something like that, I don't think the sentiment for AI stocks will change just yet. But like I mentioned on the top level overview, I'm sleeping fine just at night. I hope everybody is too, because I believe the long-term thesis for the AI market is still intact. And this is probably the easiest indication for me. I mean, we're looking at capital expenditure here in the most recent quarter, and we're looking at 6 companies: Meta, Amazon, Microsoft, Google, CoreWeave, and Nebius. And you can just tell the increasement of CapEx, the growth of CapEx continues to increase. Last quarter, or this most recent quarter, it was about $101 billion from those 6 players. And there's a lot of other AI companies that I easily could have mentioned here and made this number even bigger and bigger. And that was up from 90 billion the quarter before and about 76 billion the past 2 quarters. So you have seen a massive growth. And this massive growth is definitely thanks to NVIDIA's Blackwell solution, the GB200 and the GB300. We've heard from NVIDIA that one of the reasons, or maybe it's next, one of the reasons gross margins took a hit here from the set, and it started to go into the low 70s. This was because of China restrictions. But the main reason NVIDIA saw a decline in the Blackwell margins was because they were just spending so much in inventory, because they had such crazy demands, and just the ramp up process for those major orders was impacting gross margins. And as we do know, NVIDIA has guided gross margins to continue to grow and go back to the mid 70s by the end of this year. And I do believe we're going to see that this quarter. We have set, this past quarter was 72.5. They guided for 73 point something for this upcoming quarter that they're about to report. And I'm going to guess for quarter 4, we're also going to see somewhere in the mid, maybe closer to 74, which is closer to the mid 70s, right? So to me, NVIDIA is just continuing to outsell. The final thing here, if we look at capital expenditure, is all these players have mentioned they're going to increase CapEx next year. So what AI story has been broken? What AI bubble is there? Obviously, some people might be talking about CoreWeave with that, but CoreWeave also is the one with the largest amounts of GPUs. And GPUs are roughly 80% of CapEx. So I'm not trying to make it seem bearish, but if you are in other neo cloud providers because you think they have better balance sheets, that's going to change if they ever get to the type of active power that CoreWeave has. So to me, this market, nothing has changed from my perspective. And I just wanted to kind of give that before kind of looking at some of the overall numbers. Now, another great chart, and all these great charts you can find at fiscal.ai/Jose for 15% off. Data center revenue continues to grow, 41 billion. And this is growing even without the China market. For this quarter three that we're going to see, this number is expected to be closer to 48, maybe even closer to 50 billion for the quarter. And again, that is excluding the China market, and the demand continues to grow. Now, we talked about gross margins already, but we are going to see gross margins kind of saw a dive. That 60.5, in my opinion, is a fake number. It's due to write-offs that they had to do due to the Chinese restrictions, or the chips that they couldn't send to China, and they had to write off some inventory. But we are going to go back to the mid 70s, just like Nvidia's management promised a few quarters ago. The final thing I want to look here is inventories. Inventories has grown dramatically for Nvidia. Again, kind of just showcasing that Blackwell ramp process of the Blackwell Ultra, the GB300, the B300, and there's still strong demand for the B200 and the GB200 as well. Next company is a massive cash flow machine. Total cash and cash equivalents around 56 billion. This is after massive buybacks that unfortunately didn't put on the charts here. Free cash flow, 13 billion last quarter, and that's because they paid about $8 to $9 billion in tax. If not, it would have been closer to $20 billion. And capital expenditure, very capital light, $1.9 billion. Now, I'm not saying there is an AI bubble, but if there was, I would honestly believe that Nvidia would throw some free bags here and there to some of the AI companies that they need to continue to survive, right? So with random deals or stuff like that. But it, as long as this company has this massive amount of free cash flow, it is, in my opinion, the last defense wall that needs to be broken before I can finally say yes. Look, AI bubble is pretty scary for at least the companies that I own. Obviously, there's a lot of AI growth stocks out there and other companies that I might not be too excited about. I can't really kind of discuss on those, but the ones that I own, I'm pretty much excited for the long-term potential. Now, the market continues to grow bigger, right? And we're going to look at their earnings expectations in a bit, but I want to showcase some recent updates as well. Market continues to grow, right? We see Jeff Bezos has created a new AI startup where he will be co-CEO, Project Prometheus, and has received over $6.2 billion in funding. Think of it of another AI lab here created by another multi-billionaire. And this is, in my opinion, going to be another customer that's going to be driving demand, is going to be pushing this AI race to get heavier and heavier, right? Because if you still have all these players that are in this AI race, you're going to continue to buy plenty and plenty of AI chips. We also saw Microsoft recently announced that they continue to go into building their own kind of major AI lab startup to break away from OpenAI as well. So you continue to see more players with a lot of money continue to invest in CapEx via engineers, via AI experts, via GPUs. So to me, that's also another great indication of the market right now. Now, I also want to take a quick highlights of some recent news that happened today. So NVIDIA and a lot of companies are in SC 2025, Supercomputing 2025, which is kind of a developer conference. We did get a lot of cool updates. Some updates weren't like new products, but just updates to old products. But I thought this one was pretty cool. So ARM Neoverse platform integrates NVIDIA NVLink Fusion to accelerate AI data center adoption. Now, this is actually, in my opinion, a great thing for NVLink Fusion. For those that are not familiar with NVLink Fusion, NVIDIA is now allowing to license its network solutions where you can kind of create a CPU. And actually, let's see if we can find it here. Now, first, let's look at ARM stock. ARM stock really much didn't react to this, but if we look at NVLink Fusion from NVIDIA, they have a better image where you can really see what it really does. But let's read the announcement blog. I think this gives us great indication, a great image. One more here. So building a AI server. you need a lot of different products. You need a CPU, you need a DPU, you need networking solutions, you need so many different concepts. Now, NVIDIA can sell you the whole product, or they can license the stuff and you can build your own CPU and then use their NVLink, which is the special type of bridge to communicate to their Blackwell, to their Rubin, to their Feynman. Or maybe you create your own custom accelerator and you can use it to communicate with their CPU or with some other networking or DPU solutions. So ARM obviously licenses a lot of solutions, right? They this is the architecture that is used by hyperscalers. Every hyperscaler from AWS, Google, Microsoft, Oracle, and Meta are building an ARM-based CPU. But now, if you go with ARM-based CPUs, you can write off from their cart, not necessarily, but you can say, hey, look, I actually want to use NVLink Fusion to connect it to a Blackwell GPU or a Hopper GPU or a Feynman GPU or a Rubin GPU. And this overall indicates and can help NVIDIA, one, get that licensing from NVLink Fusion, but two, it can also help them sell a lot more products as well for companies that are designing their own type of chip. And I think the partnership here with ARM is really great, and it does help with long-term tailwind potential. Now, there were some other updates coming in from the SC25. Nothing too crazy, in my opinion. They talk about some new models that they opened up for physics simulations, some new solutions to help with Python, integration into GPUs. They talk a little bit about kind of their photonics, infinite band CPO networks. They talked about their DPUs. They talked about how quantum computers are now using their NVLink. I forget how they call it. NVLink. Let me look for it really quick. NVQ link, which is what I just talked about before, quantum chips. So a lot of small updates here. I don't think anything outside the ARM was anything crucial for right now, but all of these are great indications of NVIDIA continuing to invest in becoming a better company and all create that roadmap for this company to continue to win. Now, I want to jump into the quarter three preview. So hopefully you guys are enjoying the episode so far. Let's just go into quarter three fiscal year earnings preview. Now, if you made it this far, I appreciate if you can hit the subscribe button, the thumbs up. I'm trying to hit 85,000 subs by the end of the year. We're only at 81,000. I'm not sure if we can do it, but I still have hope, right? You get free daily videos here. You have coverage on popular AI and semiconductor stocks. Now, if you want to join the community with deep dives on semiconductor and AI stocks, not even popular, it could be any company, make sure to check out What the Chip Happened. I put episode slides. We have monthly Q&A sessions, community of serious investors, and like I mentioned, a lot of deep dives and a lot of great information is there at a great price. So check out whatthechiphappened.com if you want to increase your knowledge in the semiconductor and AI industry. And if you are serious about that market for sure. We have over 100 plus members already. The community is something I am super, super excited about. Now, if we look at expectations, so expectations for this quarter, the revenue consensus is around $54.6 billion. On the top end, we're getting even closer to 57, 58 billion, some very bullish. Earnings per share, $1.24, and we see gross margin 73.5. Now, all of these would be an improvement. Revenue would be a 15 to 17% quarter over quarter growth, or 55 to 57% year over year growth on that consensus. Earnings per share would be 17 to 20% quarter over quarter growth, and 52 to 56% year over year growth. So they're not the triple digits, but who cares? This is a massive company with hundreds of billions of trailing 12 months revenue, still growing at these massive double digits. I am super excited. In my opinion, NVIDIA is still the GOAT. Now, revenue for quarter four guidance. Now, this is what we want. Guidance right now, consensus are expected to be somewhere around $61 to $62 billion. Now, the bullish models are actually looking at maybe closer to 63 to 64 billion. If we want any excitement in AI stocks after NVIDIA earnings, that's what you want to see. You want to see that bullish model closer to the mid 60 billion in guidance. Data center expected guidance is expected to be closer to 54 to 56. potential upside, with some analysts seeing closer to 58 guidance. And gross margins were expected to kind of go back to those mid guidance for quarter 4, expecting 74 or 75. So I expect gross margins to definitely be within the consensus. Now, for me, I am expecting closer to $63 billion in quarter 4 guidance due to the massive order backlog. Now, data center this quarter is expected to be $48 billion. Now, remember, last quarter was 41 billion. So this quarter, 48 billion would be a nice continuous sequential growth and pretty exciting. Now, what we're pretty much exciting is just the Blackwell Ultra, right? That is continuing to grow. Now, the other business segments are cool and they could help beat some of these earning revenues. We know from AMD that the consumer market is actually doing really good in forms of CPUs. And obviously for every CPU you need a GPU in some of those laptops, right? So the gaming segment can continue to grow. So there's that tailwind there. Professional visualization can continue to grow with more work happening in kind of workstations, and the automotive market is all expected to grow. Regardless, I do think most of the market is worried about the data center, but any improvements here can definitely help increase free cash flow, can help increase earnings per share, can help kind of make the guidance even more and more juicy. Now, some recent news, some recent bearish news, especially as we saw Peter Thiel and SoftBanks exit their position on Nvidia. I say I could care less. Oh, SoftBank sold Nvidia many years ago, calling the top on it, and now they're divesting it. There's the sentiment shift right now, right? Usually, I never care what these big players do. I just see the overall market and react with what the news that I get and what we heard from earnings calls and other companies. Um, This is intensifying the AI bubble concerns, and I do believe it's creating that bearish sentiment, but nothing I'm following. Now, what I am following is one, the hyperscaler capex boom. Now, that's actual numbers, and it's something that is somebody that's spending money, not somebody that's just selling shares. And second is Jensen revealed during the GTC DC about a $500 billion in cumulative orders of Blackwell and next gen Rubin through the end of 2026. Now, a lot of people are getting this number mixed up. Many believe it's $500 billion for the next 5 quarters. Many believe it's $500 billion within the next 2 years. I'm actually within the 2 years of this fiscal year and next fiscal year. That's where I'm at. Regardless, both numbers are extremely bullish and still higher than what the consensus was for Nvidia. Now, we might get even more clarity during the earnings call, but overall, these are still bullish sentiments. Now, key things that we might want to hear about during the earnings, obviously customer mix. We want to see if enterprise and sovereign AI are picking up, order visibility. What is any update to that? Are there going to be questions towards that? The China market update. Obviously, we haven't heard anything from our government lately, but if there's anything here that we should know about, maybe we hear it during the call. Now, some other questions are just the margins potential. Any maybe discussion on Hopper still, right? Obviously, Hopper is the older generation. We're in the Blackwell era already, but just any update on that use cases of AI, and just what are they seeing within the overall AI market, right? Because there's a lot of bearish sentiments right now. So I'm hoping to get a lot more clarity. The market getting more clarity on some of these bearish takes. Like I mentioned, for me, the long-term thesis is still pretty much intact, and I'm pretty sure it's just going to be solidified during this earnings call. So the bull case is beat and raise, and on both quarter 3 and quarter 4 guidance. Quarter 4 guidance revenue comes above 62 billion, maybe closer to 63 and 64. A clear confirmation of margins getting to the mid 70s again. The bear case, everything in line, right? Or just a small beat. A small beat is not what we're here for. Just an inline in any quarter 3 and quarter 4. Maybe some discussions of weaknesses in demand, which I don't think is the case, but that would be a bearish case, right? But for me, the bull case is more likely the scenario here. And I'm really expecting that guidance to be super juicy. So I hope you guys enjoyed the episode. If you have any questions, make sure to check out whatthechiphappened.com. And yeah, I'm probably going to be doing the live stream. Maybe we'll be doing a pre-earnings preview as well. So stay tuned, take care, and see you all next time.